My husband begged me for a loan, claiming his business was failing. Days later, I found a hidden bank account with $500,000 and a diamond bracelet for another woman. Shaking, I transferred every penny out. That night, he checked his balance and screamed, "Where's my money?" I smiled and said, "Ask your mistress." His face went white as his phone rang. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I thought my marriage was solid. I thought my husband, Mark, was honest. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. Mark and I have been married for 17 years. We built a life together. We have 2 kids, a home in Austin, Texas, and what I assumed was a happy, stable marriage. I work in healthcare administration, and he owns a small tech consulting firm. It wasn't some huge corporation, but it was doing well. At least, that's what I believed. 2 months ago, Mark came to me, looking pale and anxious. He told me the business was struggling. Said he had hit some unexpected costs and needed $50,000 to cover payroll and keep things running. I hesitated. That was a lot of money. But Mark reassured me. He promised it was temporary. He said once he landed a new contract, he'd pay me back. I trusted him. I transferred the money into our joint account. The next day, it was gone. At first, I didn't question it. Mark had always handled his business well. But over the next few weeks, things didn't add up. If he was struggling, why wasn't he working late? Why was he out more? Golfing, having business dinners, traveling for networking events? And then there was the perfume. One night, he came home past midnight. He was smiling, relaxed, smelling like flowers and vanilla. Not like his usual aftershave. I hugged him and pulled back. "You smell different." He laughed. "Oh, probably from the restaurant. The waitress must have worn a lot of perfume." I wanted to believe him. But something in my gut twisted. I started paying attention. 2 weeks later, I was on our shared laptop, paying some bills. That's when I saw an email notification pop up. It was from a bank I didn't recognize. "Your recent account update, Mr. Mitchell." My stomach dropped. Mark and I had a joint checking and savings account. This wasn't one of them. I clicked the email. It was a private bank account, in his name only. I checked our online banking records. My $50,000 had been transferred, not into his business, but into this secret account. My heart pounded. I dug deeper. I found bank statements. He had $500,000 sitting in that account. $500,000. But that wasn't even the worst part. There was a pending charge for $12,000 at a high-end jewelry store. I felt sick. I needed to see it for myself. The next day, I went to the store, pretending to browse. I casually asked the salesperson about a diamond bracelet I had seen online. She smiled. "Oh. We just sold a gorgeous one like that a few days ago. Custom gift wrapped with a handwritten note." I swallowed the rage burning inside me. "Do you remember who bought it?" She nodded. "Mark Mitchell." I thanked her and walked out. My husband was not broke. My husband was not struggling. My husband was cheating on me. I wanted revenge. That night, while Mark was out, I logged into his hidden account. I had found a password file on his laptop. He didn't even bother encrypting it. I transferred every single penny into an account in my name. $500,000. Gone. I sat on the couch, waiting. Mark came home late, whistling. He kissed me on the cheek. "Hey, babe." I smiled. "Hey." He went to shower. I waited. Then, about an hour later, I heard it. A scream. "What the F asterisk? Where's my money?" I walked into the bedroom. Mark was sitting on the bed, his face pale, his hands shaking over his laptop. He kept refreshing the page, eyes wide with panic. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Something wrong?" His head snapped up. "Where the hell is my money?" I tilted my head. "Oh. You mean the $500,000? His jaw dropped. "You took it?" I shrugged. "It was my money first. You remember? The $50,000 I gave you to save your business? Funny how none of it went there." He stared at me, speechless. I took a step closer. "Why don't you ask your mistress where the rest went?" His face drained of color. I saw the exact moment he realized he was caught. Then, his phone rang. We both looked at the screen. It was a number saved as Babe Redheart. I smiled. I reached down, picked up his phone, and answered it for him. Hello? A woman's voice came through. Hey, baby. What's wrong? You haven't texted me back. I watched Mark. He froze. I grinned. Oh, he's busy. He just found out I emptied his secret bank account. Silence. Then, she hung up. I tossed the phone onto the bed. Mark lunged for it. You're ruining my life. I laughed. Your life? You ruined mine. His hands clenched into fists. You had no right, I cut him off. I had every right. I took a deep breath. Pack your things. You have 10 minutes to get out of my house. He stared at me. You can't do this. I leaned in, whispering. Watch me. Mark just stood there, frozen. His face was pale, his mouth slightly open, like he was trying to form words but couldn't. His phone was still on the bed, screen dimmed now, but we both knew exactly who had called. His mistress. For a long second, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the ceiling fan. Then, he snapped out of it. He lunged for his phone again, but I grabbed it before he could. He wasn't getting a damn thing from me tonight. I need my phone, he growled, voice low, dangerous. I smiled, tossing it across the room. It hit the wall and fell to the floor. Go get it, then. His jaw tightened, but he didn't move. His whole body was tense, his breathing sharp. You're crazy, he spat. You're acting insane. I tilted my head. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, the only crazy thing I did was trust you. His nostrils flared. Give me my money back. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, Mark. That money isn't yours anymore. His hands curled into fists. I could see it all over his face, rage, shock, panic. He wasn't just angry. He was desperate. And that's when I knew. Something was wrong. At first, I thought it was just the cheating. The secret bank account, the expensive gifts, the lying. But the way he was panicking? It was more than that. This wasn't just about some mistress. Mark was in trouble. I took a slow step forward. Who's looking for that money, Mark? His eyes snapped to mine. For the first time that night, he looked afraid. Bingo. You didn't steal that money just to impress some side piece, did you? I said, my voice quieter now, sharper. He swallowed hard. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? His whole body was stiff, but his eyes darted toward his phone on the floor. Like he was waiting for another call. Something clicked in my head. He wasn't scared of me. He was scared of whoever was going to call next. And then, as if the universe wanted to prove me right, someone knocked on the front door. It wasn't a polite knock. It was hard, fast, urgent. Mark flinched. I turned my head slowly toward the sound. Expecting someone? He didn't answer. The knock came again. Louder this time. My stomach twisted, but I refused to show it. Instead, I walked calmly toward the door, glancing at him over my shoulder. You better pray it's not your girlfriend, I said. I swung the door open. 2 men. Dressed in black suits, clean-cut, no smiles. They didn't look like cops. They didn't look like businessmen, either. No. They looked like trouble. One of them, a tall guy with dark eyes and a sharp jawline, took a slow step forward. Good evening, ma'am. His voice was smooth, polite. Too polite. I glanced at Mark. He was white as a sheet. The second man, a little shorter but broader, turned his attention to Mark. We need to talk. Mark's throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. I just need more time, tall guy shook his head. That's not how this works. The short one sighed like he was already bored. Where's the money? I almost laughed. Oh. This was good. I crossed my arms, leaning casually against the doorframe. What money? Mark shot me a look that could kill. Tall guy raised an eyebrow. He studied me for a moment, then turned back to Mark. You didn't tell her? I could feel the tension rolling off my husband in waves. He looked like he wanted to crawl out of his own skin. That's when I realized, he hadn't just lied to me. He had lied to them, too. And now, everyone knew. I turned to Mark, tapping my chin like I was deep in thought. So, just to be clear, this is where my $50,000 went? Mark's face twisted in panic. Don't get involved in this, I let out a slow, mocking whistle. Damn, Mark. You really should have been honest. The short guy chuckled. Oh, I like her. Mark snapped. Shut up, Rachel. Big mistake. Because the moment my name left his mouth, tall guy's whole expression changed. His eyes flicked to me, then back to Mark. Wait. He frowned. You took the money from your wife? Silence. Then, the short one burst out laughing. I smirked. Tall guy, however, didn't look as amused. He pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing. Jesus Christ, Mark. Mark looked like he was about to pass out. I had no idea what was going on. But I knew one thing for sure. Mark was drowning. And I was about to watch him sink. Mark looked like he was about to drop dead. The two men at my doorstep weren't ordinary debt collectors. They weren't the type to send polite emails or work out a payment plan. These men had a different energy, a kind of calm control that told me they were used to getting what they wanted. And right now? They wanted their money. Tall guy sighed, rubbing his temples like this was just a mild inconvenience. Let me get this straight. You stole from your wife. And then you lost the money? Mark's mouth opened, then closed. No words came out. Short guy chuckled, shaking his head. Damn. That's a special kind of stupid. I was enjoying this way too much. I crossed my arms. So, Mark? You want to explain what's going on, or should I let your new friends tell me? His head snapped toward me, eyes full of pure panic. Rachel. Please. Just, stay out of this. Wrong answer. I turned back to tall guy. Enlighten me. Tall guy studied me for a second, then nodded. Your husband borrowed money. A lot of money. Promised he'd pay it back by the end of the month. I raised an eyebrow. How much? The short one grinned. A cool 200 grand. I whistled. And let me guess, that $500,000 account of his? That was his little stash to run off with? Mark's face twisted. It wasn't like that, tall guy cut him off. Actually? That's exactly what it looks like. I stared at Mark, my mind racing. 200 grand? He had $500,000 sitting in that account. He could have paid them twice over and still had money left. So why hadn't he? Why was he stalling? And then it hit me. My stomach turned. The bracelet. That stupid, $12,000 bracelet. I turned to Mark slowly. You weren't planning on paying them, were you? His silence was my answer. The short guy let out a low whistle. Damn, dude. You were just gonna run? Tall guy cracked his neck, sighing like this was the dumbest thing he'd dealt with all week. All right. We've wasted enough time. He looked at me. Where's the money? I met his gaze without flinching. Safe. Tall guy gave a small, almost impressed, nod. Smart. Mark's whole body tensed. Rachel, you don't understand. They'll, tall guy raised a hand, cutting him off. She understands fine. He turned back to me. Here's the deal. Mark owes us. We don't care where the money is. We just need to make sure it gets to the right place. He leaned in slightly. But between you and me? If he were my husband, I wouldn't be in a rush to hand it over. I liked this guy. A car pulled up fast in our driveway. Tires screeched a little as it stopped. The front door was still open, so we all turned at the same time. And there she was. Long blonde hair, tight dress, heels too high for a Wednesday night. She looked expensive. Annoyed. And worst of all, she looked comfortable here. Like she had been here before. My blood boiled. The blonde barely glanced at me before turning to Mark. What the hell is going on? You're not answering my calls. Mark visibly shrank. Not now, Tessa. Tessa. Her name was Tessa. The woman he stole from me for. I hated her on sight. She stomped toward him, ignoring the two men in suits like they weren't even there. Not now? Are you serious? I just got a call from the bank, your card got declined. I bit back a grin. Oh. So that's why she was really here. Tessa crossed her arms, waiting. Well? Mark looked seconds away from passing out. Tall guy laughed. Short guy laughed harder. I leaned against the wall, enjoying the show. Tessa turned to me suddenly, eyes narrowing. Who the hell are you? I smiled. Oh, honey. I'm his wife. Her face dropped. She actually took a step back. Oh, she breathed, blinking rapidly. Oh, sh*t. Tall guy smirked. Surprise. Tessa whirled on Mark, shoving him in the chest. Are you kidding me? You told me you were divorced. He stumbled back. Tessa, listen. To what, Mark? That you're a liar? Short guy whistled under his breath. Damn. This keeps getting better. Tessa pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me. Did you know about us? I shrugged. Not at first. But now? I smiled sweetly. I know everything. She went dead silent. Then, slowly, she turned back to Mark. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she asked, calm as ever, where's my money? I nearly choked. Tall guy looked delighted. Wait. Your money? Tessa flipped her hair, standing tall. Yeah. My money. Mark's face was crumbling. Oh, this was so much worse than I thought. I folded my arms. So let me get this straight. Mark owes them 200 grand. I gestured to the men in suits. He was planning to run off with you. But first, he stole from me, and from you? Tessa's nostrils flared. That's right. Short guy wheezed. Damn, dude. How are you still alive? Mark finally lost it. His face twisted in rage. Everyone just stop. Dead silence. He pointed at me. You stole my money. He pointed at the men. You are threatening me. And then he pointed at Tessa. And you, slap. Tessa slapped the soul out of him. The sound echoed through the house. Mark staggered back, gasping. I could have cried from happiness. She stepped forward, voice deadly. Give me my money. Short guy wiped an actual tear from his eye. Oh, man. This is beautiful. Tall guy sighed. All right. Let's wrap this up. He turned to me. Rachel? Since you're the only competent person here, what's your plan? I smiled. Because I had one. And Mark wasn't gonna like it. The house was dead silent. Mark stood there, face red, breathing hard, fists clenched, like he wanted to hit something. Tessa was still shaking from rage, her manicured fingers curled into tight fists. The two men in suits? Amused. And me? I had never felt so powerful in my life. Tall guy cleared his throat. So, Rachel. What's your plan? I let the question hang in the air. I wanted Mark to feel the weight of it. His entire life was falling apart. And I was going to let it burn. I grabbed my phone, pulled up a folder labeled evidence, and hit send. Mark's phone buzzed. He hesitated before checking it, but when he saw the contents, he went pale as death. Screenshots. Emails. Bank statements. And worst of all? Pictures of him and Tessa. Tessa let out a horrified gasp. You took pictures of us? I smiled. Not me. Your little hotel had cameras. Mark's entire body locked up. Rachel, no, oh, don't worry, I said sweetly. It's not just for you. I sent copies to everyone. His eyes widened in horror. Everyone? Yep. I listed them off, tapping my finger. Your parents. Your sister. My lawyer. Oh, and our kid's school board. Just in case you try to play the respectable businessman and father card later on. Tessa turned ghostly white. My job, Mark, my job. If this gets out, Mark wheeled on me. You're ruining me. I didn't even blink. No, Mark. You ruined yourself. And then, something snapped. Mark let out a rage-filled scream and lunged, not at me. At the table. He grabbed the first thing he could, a glass vase, and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into 100 pieces, the sound ringing through the house like a gunshot. Tessa screamed. The two men in suits did not flinch. And I smiled. I had expected so much worse from him. Mark's chest heaved, his face twisted in fury. You're a vindictive, evil B***tch. I gave him a slow, mocking clap. And you're a lying, cheating, broke coward. Guess we're even. He charged toward me, but before he could get close, tall guy casually stepped between us. Mark stumbled back, suddenly remembering who else was in the room. The short guy sighed. All right, drama queen. Time to wrap this up. I took a deep breath, looked Mark right in the eyes, and dropped the final bomb. I already filed for divorce. His head snapped up so fast I thought he'd break his neck. What? Oh yeah. I grinned. And since we're in Texas, where joint assets get split, half of that $500,000 is legally mine anyway. The look on his face? Priceless. I kept going. Oh, and about the house? You're leaving. I already had my lawyer put in a restraining order request, should be processed by morning. Mark actually staggered back. Rachel, you can't, I turned to tall guy. Can he stay here? Tall guy smirked. Nope. Short guy laughed. Nah, we're not in the landlord business. Tessa grabbed her purse in a panic. You know what? I'm done. I'm out. I didn't sign up for this mess. She turned to me. Listen, I didn't know about you, okay? I swear. If I had, I held up a hand. I don't care. Just go. And with that, Tessa ran out the door. Tall guy clapped his hands together. All right, Mitchell. Clock's ticking. You're out of options. Mark's voice cracked. I can fix this, short guy chuckled. No. You really can't. And then? Mark did something I never thought I'd see. He cried. Not just angry tears. Real, raw, broken sobs. I watched, unmoved, as he collapsed onto the couch, face buried in his hands. It was pathetic. I had spent 17 years thinking he was some strong, capable man. And in the end? He was nothing. Tall guy sighed, turning to me. You good? I nodded. Yeah. He gave me a respectful nod. Smart woman. Then he turned back to Mark, his politeness gone. Now. You've got 24 hours to come up with something. Otherwise? He gave a small, dangerous smile. Mark just sat there, numb, as they walked out the door. The house was silent again. Except now, it felt empty. Mark didn't move. I stood there, watching him for a long moment. Then, finally, I spoke. I loved you once. My voice was calm, steady. I gave you everything. And you threw it all away. For what? Some side piece? A few months of feeling important? Mark didn't answer. So I let out a breath and turned away. I'll have my lawyer send the papers, I said, walking toward the stairs. Pack your *T and get out. And then I left him there. Alone. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. I had won. I had taken everything back. So why did I feel so hollow? Maybe because I knew the truth. I had spent half my life loving a man who never deserved me. And now? I had to start over. The next morning, I walked downstairs to find Mark gone. No note. No apology. Just gone. I checked the security cameras. He had left at 3 a.m., suitcase in hand, looking like a broken man. Good. I grabbed my coffee, stepped outside, and took a deep breath. The air smelled fresh. Like freedom. Like a new beginning. And for the first time in a long, long time, I smiled.